This video is brought to you by Milea.com, the place where you can learn everything you need to know about audio production. The majority of audio producers feel that audio mastering is like rocket science, and frankly, I don't blame them. You see, in my audio production journey, while searching for more information on audio mastering, I also felt that there's some magic voodoo around audio mastering. And that makes a lot of audio producers feel that they should not touch audio mastering. Luckily, in my case, I was stubborn enough to learn this craft. And if you too want to learn audio mastering, this video might give you some good directions. And to make you even more curious, I believe, in my honest opinion, that audio mastering is simpler than audio mixing. Hey, I'm Adrian from Milea.com, and today I'm going to give you some insights on why I believe audio mastering is simpler than audio mixing, but not easier. My first ever experience with mixing was when I had about 16 years. That's when, with a buddy of mine, we made our band. We had a 8-channel mixer, and usually we plugged in the mixer a keyboard in 2 channels, 2 microphones into other 2 channels, and sometimes we plugged some instruments. And we also plugged this reverb, which also had a delay option. The cool part was that while there was an EQ on each channel that we could use to make changes on individual channels, there was also a graphic EQ on the master, and we always used that EQ to bring more lows and highs on the entire thing. So my first experience with audio mixing was on a 8-channel analog mixer. However, I didn't know that what we were doing was called audio mixing. We just tried to make things sound the best they could in different scenarios. About 5 or 6 years later, in 2005-2006, I started to try different DAWs like Reason, Nuendo, Cubase, and that's when I started to get in contact with more info online on the concept of audio mixing. In 2007, I created my first ever Pro Tools session, and it is at that point when I started to understand that a thing I was doing on analog gear, but also in my keyboards, was called audio mixing. Also, that's when I started to pay attention and learn that there were other processors than EQs, reverbs, and delays. I was so excited to try different audio effects like compressors, flangers, saturators, and so on. However, I must confess, it took me a couple of months to understand what a compressor is doing and how to actually use one. Looking back at those particular times, that's the time when I actually set my basics in my audio production journey in the digital world, by lots of trials and errors. I did have some previous experience in producing music on keyboards and sequencers, but I took my audio production game to the next level when I started using Pro Tools 7 Lite Edition. Of course, it took me a while to learn how to actually use Pro Tools, but this is for another video. The thing I knew was that my third album should be produced, mixed and mastered by me. Then, it took me months to understand the importance of the samples you use in your mixes in order to produce decent songs. And the next challenge was to make those songs actually sound decent on different systems. Man, it took me hundreds and hundreds of days and reviews until I got decent mixes. And when I thought that I finished the songs, I discovered that in audio production there is this thing called the audio mastering. When I started asking around about audio mastering, people were avoiding to talk about it. They would share with me more mixing tips than mastering. And until this day, I do not understand why this secrecy. So after months of struggling to achieve decent sounding mixes, I discovered that audio mastering is the stage that you can unfortunately discover that you still have lots and lots of work to do on your mixes. Why? Because when I started using limiting on my mixes in order to increase the overall volume and finish them, my mixes started to sound boomy and harsh. Plus, I didn't know so many things like the Fletcher-Masson curves, the existence of so-called true peaks, the importance of having a good audio interface and audio monitors. But the most important part was that I didn't know how crucial it is to have a good quality limiter. Years later, when I put my hands on the MD3 bundle from TC Electronic, everything changed for me. And by the way, they recently released the native version of the MD3 but also the MD4, so if you're in search for a good multi-band processor, you should check my reviews on them. I hope this will help you. So, what I'm trying to say is that I found out the hard way that audio mixing and mastering are interconnected and they should have to work together if you actually want to have a good sounding song. But there's more to this. I believe that a good quality sounding song actually begins with the very first sample you put in your session. It took me years to finally understand why some audio productions sound professional and while others sound weak. Nowadays, I see every song I produce like a house I'm building. You should start with the foundation and actually learn and understand the tools you will need and learn how to use them in order to build that song. Next, depending on the song, in case you want your song to include vocals, you will actually need to design the songwriting part to work with the production part. Next, I discovered why the recording part is crucial if you want to have great sounding vocals or instruments. And only after you took care of these steps, you actually can move to the mixing stage, which, as mentioned, it also has to work seamlessly with the mastering stage. And by the way, what you are looking at is the music production masterclass roadmap that I use to help audio producers finish a song from an idea to a finished mastered song in less than 14 days. So if you're interested in this, you should check it out. I'll leave the link below. But why I believe audio mastering is simpler than audio mixing? I believe my advantage of stating this is that after my second album was mixed and mastered by an engineer, after 2007, I composed, produced, mixed and mastered every song I ever produced, plus those of my clients. So what I'm trying to say is that I touched every part of audio production, and to me, audio mixing is more complex than audio mastering. Let's actually take an example of this session of mine to explain what I mean. By the way, this is the exact session I use in my music production masterclass program. I composed this song specifically to show in the music production masterclass every single step from putting the very first note in the DAW up to the finished master. And if you take a look at this session, there are like 60 audio tracks that I have to make sound great together at the audio mixing stage. So I have 60 tracks that I have to make them work together in terms of balance, EQ, compression, saturation, and so on. Plus, I have to identify which tracks will need reverb and delay and also the amount. Plus, I need to identify which types of reverbs I should use for the best results. So I have 60 audio tracks, plus 6 effects basses, plus another 6 basses which end up in a mix bass. So in this particular case and session, in total we have about 72 tracks that we should make to work together so that they will end up as the best stereo mix we could possibly achieve. And in this video, I won't get into details about the different types of plugins we need to use on different tracks. So, we said that in this session at the mixing stage, we have about 72 tracks that we have to watch out. However, at the mastering stage, we only have one single stereo track. That's it. And to put things into perspective, at the mixing stage in this particular case, I have 72 total tracks plus more than 100 instances of different plugins on different tracks to take care of. While on the master bus, I have only a stereo track to take care of, a left and a right channel, plus 3 plugins, 2 EQs and a limiter. And that is because I took care of the heavy lifting at the mixing stage. And of course, you can have simpler sessions than this, like a single piano track for example, but most of the time you will have more tracks to mix so that you can make them sound the best they can together. This is why I say that audio mastering is simpler but not easier than audio mixing. I believe that audio mastering and audio mixing have their particularities and they should be approached differently. However, in the end they should work together, that is, to accomplish your mission to make a song to sound the best it can. I also believe that if you have experience in audio mixing, learning audio mastering can be a lot easier than in case you don't have any experience in the audio production domain. And if you want to learn audio mastering, the cool part of this video is that I'm about to show you how you can start. But heads up, as I said, audio mastering might be simpler than audio mixing, but you should still keep in mind a lot of things. Plus you have to develop your taste in sound and music overall to distinguish how a certain genre should sound, but I strongly believe that anything or almost anything can be learned. So how can you learn audio mastering if it is that simple? I still believe, like different audio mastering engineers stated, that audio mastering is an art in itself, plus a science if you will, and it should be approached with a different mindset than audio mixing. It goes without saying that if you want great results, you still need to have the foundation, to know what tools you need and how to use them in different scenarios. And I talk about this in details in my Pro Audio Mastering program, where we also dive deep in the EQ and the dynamics, because I believe from my experience 80% of the results in a great master is achieved by using equalizers the right way. And if you wonder, in the Pro Audio Mastering I also show you exactly how to master a song step by step, plus how to release that master and share it with the world. So if you're interested, go check it out. To summarize this video, I created it because so many audio producers still believe that audio mastering is like rocket science, when it is actually a really fun stage of audio production. And if you get the essentials right, plus the right mindset, this can help you in achieving better results and faster than years of trials and errors, like it was in my case. So in the end, hopefully this video will help you a bit in demystifying audio mastering. And if it did, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. This way you will support me to grow this channel and make it happen for me to make more videos like this, in order to help as many audio producers as possible. And of course, in case you want to work with me further, check out the Pro Audio Mastering program and I'll see you on the other side. Until next time, stay cool and make great music.